Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all my Appliancer Yugioh deck profile for post Battles of Legend Armageddon. This is a really awesome deck, probably the one I was the most excited about from the newest set to do a deck profile on. This is the deck used by RoboP in the final season of Yu-Gi-Oh! Vrains. After he was given his AI body from he was also given this deck to use, which I honestly thought when I first saw it would be a Cyberse deck, but it's actually a machine deck that focuses on co-linking with a bunch of the different new Appliancer Link monsters we got, along with these new spells and effect monsters. So I was definitely excited to put together the deck, and I'm really happy with how it plays. If you're a fan of, just as many Link summons that Cyberse could originally do, this is the main purpose of this deck as well. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. Now, I'm missing a few cards still. I was so excited to build this deck. As for the ones I'm missing, there's just a few blank spots with the packs I bought before my boxes. Like I said, just missing a couple more cards, then I'll have the complete deck. But for the monsters, I want to run 3 Appliancer Socket Roll. This is one of your main go-to monsters. We only got 3 in total from the new set. But with Socket Roll, if you control an Appliancer monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. If another Appliancer Socket Roll is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can special summon 1 Appliancer Socket Roll from your deck. You can only use each effect of Appliancer Socket Roll once per turn. So it's a 100 attack, 100 defense monster, and that much easier to special summon out because you have plenty of machine options in this deck to special summon out all the different Appliancer monsters that we have. So running 3 of this just gives you more and more resources to use with your Link plays. So you definitely want to have 3 of this in the deck as your max number for that easy power that you can do. It's also a 1-for-1 target, but we have machine duplication and also a bunch of other spells that help with just special summoning and searching this card out in the deck. As for some of the other Appliancer monsters, I also run 3 Appliancer Copy Bunkle. With this one, you can target 1 Appliancer monster you control, special summon this card from your hand. If you do, this card's name becomes that monster's name until the end phase. During your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target 1 Appliancer monster you control, special summon 1 monster with the same name from your hand or graveyard. You can only use this effect of Copy Bunkle once per turn. So getting that additional special summon is very useful for the fact that then you'll be able to set up more of your Link plays, because we have plenty of Link 1 monsters in the deck to use for all of your summoning methods. With this card, being able to summon other Appliancers from the graveyard after you summon them out for more and more resources to use. It's where it gets the name, obviously, of Copy Bunkle, just being able to make copies of all the different Appliancer monsters we have on the field, and also taking the names of some of the other ones also. For the last of the effect monsters that we run in the deck, I also run 3 Appliancer Breaker Bunkle. There we go. That's something like, I can't tell if it's a C or Breaker Bunkle. There we go. And during damage calculation, if an Appliancer monster you control battles an opponent's monster, you can discard this card. For that battle, that monster you control cannot be destroyed. Also, you take no battle damage. If an Appliancer monster you control be destroyed by a card effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard or field instead. So more setup with this card. You can even just summon out this card, then use it for the machine duplication play, and then have that to go off of for that protection play. Also setting it up in the graveyard after you go for the Link summon. But with your other Appliancer monsters that you're using for all of your setup, having a sort of protection card to rely on is a big help for sure also. And even if you do summon it, like I said, once you set it up in the graveyard, it makes it all the easier to summon out. Just missing a couple more cards, and the monsters were the main ones that I was missing cards from also, but then I'll be pretty much done with the deck as a whole. I was glad that there was nothing really secret rare for this deck, just that much easier to get as a whole for all the different cards. And then to finish off the monsters, I stuck to the pure Appliancer setup, but just a hand trap spot to finish off the monsters. This can be Effect Veiler, Ash Blossom, you name it, whatever you prefer in this spot. It can even be a few Kaiju monsters if you just want the option to tribute some of your opponent's monsters, and then benefit more from the Appliancer Link monsters that we run in the deck. So 3 Ash Blossom, just my personal preference, but like I said, Nibiru, Kaiju's, Effect Veiler, it could be any of those cards also for this spot. But that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. Just like with Ignister Island, we have a field spell for the Appliancers, and it is Appliancer Electro-Lyrical World. It's a really, really good field spell for the deck. When this card is activated, you can add 1 Appliancer card from your deck to your hand, except for a field spell. And once per turn, if you do Link Summon an Appliancer Link monster, you can add 1 Appliancer monster from your graveyard to your hand. Once per turn, when a monster declares an attack, you can move 1 Appliancer monster you control to another of your your main monster zones. You can only activate one Appliancer Electro-Lyrical World once per turn. So that setup for Electro-Lyrical World means that you can set up your different Appliancer monsters, because the main focus with them is to co-link with one another. So once you get those arrows set up with all of your different Appliancer monsters, and with your Celtopus being the main one you want to link up with all your different Appliancer monsters, this card's great for that setup. And just being a searcher for anything else in the deck aside from more field spells makes it all the better also. I also run the one Terraforming just so we can search out the card. I considered some other traps like Metaverse to search out this card even faster, but I just stuck to the one Terraforming. If you wanted to add any of those other cards, you can try taking out some of the other trap spots that we're running in the deck. But for some of the other Appliancer spells, I'm also running 3 Appliancer Reuse. You target one Appliancer monster in your graveyard to special summon it, but place it on the bottom of your deck when it leaves the field. Honestly, I like the place it on the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field more than the banish that we normally see with these spells, because then we can reuse that card for cards like Machine, Duplication, or even other cards like our Infernal Reckless Summon that we're also running in the deck for that setup. So this is a great use of those additional monsters to summon out, and then just more and more resources going back into the deck for us to resummon out onto the field. And lastly, for the Appliancer spells, I run 3 Appliancer Tests. You target one Appliancer Link monster you control, special summon as many Link 1 Appliancer monsters from your graveyard as possible to your zones that monster points to, but banish it when they, during the end phase. You can only activate 1 Appliancer Test per turn, but this special summon is meant to set up with Appliancer Celtopus, being able to then connect all those monsters onto Celtopus. As you can see, the plugs are the basic setup for those monsters, and then having that set up means you can go for most of your co-link plays with your Appliancer monsters also. So 3 of all the spells, they're all very, very useful, whether it's special summoning, search power, they all benefit to the play style of the deck. So you want to run full play sets of all of them for sure for all the different plays that you'll be able to do. For some of the other support, I already spoke of them before earlier in the video, but I also run 3 Machine Duplication. Target one face-up machine monster you control with 500 or less attack. Special summon up to 2 monsters from your deck with the same name as that monster. So if you're given your easy access to some of your other Appliancer monsters, being able to special summon those multiple copies onto the field just makes it that much easier for you to have resources for all the different Link monsters to set up your Link 2 and then summon out another Link 1 for those plays there. So you want to run 3 Machine Duplication so you can easily see this card. Same with Inferno Reckless Summon. We run 3 of this also for the fact that we have easy ways to special summon out those cards. You can give your opponent a resource, but you know, if you give them that monster, you can just play around it with the ones that you summon out onto the field using your resources. And you just want more and more options to special summon out those cards. I thought of Back to the Front instead of another trap spot instead of this card, but that's once again player preference depending on what you want to run in the deck. Also, you can even try Monster Reborn or even Call the Haunted with the Link monsters to co-link with some of them as well, but once again, player preference at that point. And we do run a good number of level 1 monsters in the deck, so I also run 3 Where Art Thou. If you control a face-up level 1 monster, add 1 level 1 monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of this turn, you take 2,000 damage if you do not normal summon the added monster, but if you special summon a level 1 monster, you can easily normal summon that monster and not take the damage. And there's nothing else in this deck that really deals you damage, so as long as you have that setup, it's that much easier for your search power, having this to rely on and all of our Appliancer monsters that we need for our plays onto the field. Since we do run a low monster count, this definitely does help for that. For some of the one-ofs, I run 1 1-for-1 and the 1 Pot of Avarice. I didn't want to run any more Pot of Avarice than just the 1. You have that recycle power, but we're not running as many monsters, and I just want another option to put back some of my Link monsters, because you can definitely go through them very quickly, with the majority of them being the Appliancer monsters, and 1-for-1 gets any of the Appliancer monsters in the main deck, so that easy special summon, and then more special summoning with cards like Inferno Reckless Summon make it all the better. For some other spell spot to finish off the spells, just 3 Call by the Grave to stop your opponent's hand traps, especially if they Ash Blossom you when you're trying to special summon one of your Appliancers from your main deck to the field for your main go-to extra deck summoning plays. And also for the trap lineup, I'm going with the 2 Solemn Judgment and the 2 Solemn Strike as my preference. Just another way to stop your opponent's big summon plays if you have an Appliancer monster that they can't get over. If you wanted to keep the Ash Blossom, you can also try a Kaiju lineup for this position if you didn't want to go with the traps. I'm giving a lot of player options for what you can do variety-wise in the deck, but it's all down to the player and their play style. This is just my preference to run the traps in this spot, but you can choose whatever card you want honestly here. And that is it for the main deck. We'll now move on to the extra deck. Now, for some of the spots for the Appliancers, I didn't get full play sets, but you can see cards I'm running in here as just placeholders for those Link monsters as well, with the first one being Appliancer Laundry Dragon. You need one Appliancer monster to make this. It doesn't even have to be a non-Link monster, so you could just use these for that material, except on the turn it was Link Summon, so remember that. Cannot be used as Link material the turn it is Link Summon. Neither player takes any battle damage from attacks involving this card. Once per turn, after damage calculation, if this card is co-linked, battles an opponent's monster, you can banish that opponent's monster, and once per turn, after damage calculation, if this monster that is not co-linked to an opponent's monster, you can destroy that opponent's monster. So just having that monster option for this card, if this monster that is not co-linked for that option battles an opponent's monster for easy destruction plays, depending on what you want to use it for that setup. But just being a Link 1, it's definitely very easy to summon out like all the other different Appliancer monsters. So you definitely want to run 3 of this, just like our next one, which is Appliancer Kappa Scale. With this one, same restriction, not being able to be used as a Link material the turn it's Link Summon, but being able to tribute this co-link card to special summon one Appliancer Link monster from your graveyard gives you ways to get out some of your other Appliancers that you already went into for some better destruction plays. And being able to tribute this card that is not co-linked to special summon a level 4 or lower Appliancer from your graveyard means more recycle power for some of our bigger Appliancer monsters. And I also run 3 Appliancer Dryer Drake. With this one, you need one Appliancer monster having the same restriction. Once per turn during your battle phase, if this card is co-linked, except during the damage step, you can switch this card to 2 Appliancer monsters in your main monster zone, including this card. If you do, the other monster in your main monster zone in this card, and if you do, the other monster can make a second attack during each battle phase. And once per turn, when this card is not co-linked, is target for attack, you can negate the attack. So real protection plays with this one, but the setup to move around your monsters help when you need that proper co-link setup also. So I definitely like running all these at maximum play sets. You always have the options to summon them out onto the field. I also run 3 Appliancer Vacuo Elephant with this one, or Vacuolphant, I believe is how you pronounce it. Cannot be used as Link material, just like the other ones the turn it's summoned. It can attack directly while it is not co-linked, but send 1 card from your hand to the graveyard, then target 1 card your opponent controls, destroy it. If this card is co-linked, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's main zone, destroy it, and then you can only use 1 Appliancer Vacuo Elephant effect per turn, only once that turn. Destruction effect, or attacking directly, depending on if this card's co-linked or not. Very, very nice options for all the different Link ones that we're running in this deck, depending on the play you want to do. But for our main go-to boss monster to set up all the co-link plays, I run 3 Appliancer Celtopus. This Link card cannot be targeted by your opponent's card effects or their monster's attacks. During damage calculation, if an Appliancer Link monster you control co-linked to this card battles an opponent's monster, your battling monster gains attack equal to the number of monsters co-linked to this card times 1,000, and during that damage calculation only. And once per turn, if an Appliancer Link monster you control that is not co-linked to this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can draw 1 card. So if it's unplugged, you get the draw power. If they're co-linked, they have the power boost needed to destroy your opponent. And just being able to protect this card while it's co-linked makes it all the better, since you have some of the stronger Link 1 Appliancer monsters to rely on also. But as your main go-to play for your setup when it comes to special summoning out the different Appliancer monsters, if you want to go for the easy play, if you summon out your Appliancer Socket Roll, which you can get out with 1-for-1 by discarding another monster to special summon this card onto the field, and then you can either use your Inferno Reckless Summon when you summon it out that way, or if you normal summoned it, Machine Duplication to get 2 additional cards on the field for you to use. Having that set up on the field for your 3 monsters, you can then go for your next big play. You can even go through some of the Appliancer Link monsters to set them up in the graveyard, going for a Link 1, but just remember we're limited with some of the plays in the extra deck. So if you go for, let's say, a Vacuolphant using 1 of them, and then you use the next 2 monsters to summon out the Celtopus, you'll then have the Appliancer monster left on the field to summon out another one from your extra deck, whether it wants to go into this spot like Dryer Drake, and then you can just make sure the other arrow you summon in the graveyard matches up with the spot here. So if you have a Vacuolphant in the graveyard, you can summon a Link 1 with the final monster that matches up in this spot, and then use one of your Appliancer spells to summon out the monster using Appliancer Reuse, and then summoning Vacuolphant. And that is your main go-to setup that you want to have most of the time when going for your Appliancer plays. Having the links connected to Celtopus, the main Link monster, and then benefiting whichever one you have when they're co-linked co-linked or not. If you don't want the co-link play, then you can just have it special summon somewhere else and then have that additional play depending on what you want to use. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. I'm definitely excited for this deck and to be working on a bunch of other different ones from the newest booster set as well, so definitely look forward to it. But until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and Kira Twig out.